happy to do this while we wait. Ooh, that's quick.
Hello, this is George.
And Bonnie.
And this is Adonai's Sanctuary Truth Classroom. That statement will come into play when we get down with our talking about Yehoshua 5. Now, we're in Yehoshua 5, and it's August 12th.
And we're in Mississippi.
Tomorrow we'll be in Alabama.
Yep.
Then Florida, and then home.
Yep.
Section or chapter 5 of Yehoshua. What would you say the kings heard? Oh, I'm sorry. Would you say the kings heard rumors of what happened with those Hebrews at the Jordan River and became, well, you might say, concerned? Read 5:1, please.
When all the kings of the Amorites on the west side of the Jordan and all the kings of the Canaanites near the sea heard how Adonai had dried up the Jordan River ahead of the people of Israel until they crossed it, their hearts failed them, and they fell into depression because of the people of Israel.
Both sides of the Jordan River were scared of those Hebrews. Look what has happened. They walked across on dry ground.
Yeah.
Had the Hebrews stopped circumcising their males? You'll understand why I asked that. Because my sweetie's going to read 5:2.
It was at that time that Adonai said to Joshua, "Make yourselves knives of flint and circumcise the people of Israel again a second time."
Joshua, make sure the males are circumcised at the place I cannot pronounce. Yavaha Ararat. Afterwards, that hill would be known as the Hill of Foreskins. We asked, why did they need to be circumcised? Weren't they already? But we find out that wasn't an activity anymore for them. Read 3-5. Oh, I'm sorry. Verses 3-5 tell the whole story. Read 3-5, please.
Hi, Ann. So Joshua made himself knives of flint and circumcised the people of Israel at that place you can't say, the Hill of Foreskins. The reason Joshua circumcised was that all the people who had left Egypt, who were males, all fighting men, had died in the desert along the way after leaving Egypt. For although all the people who left Egypt had been circumcised, all those who had been born in the desert on the way as they went on from Egypt had not been circumcised.
It stated in the ones born in those 40 years were not circumcised.
What's this?
Did they think it was a one-time thing?
Apparently not.
Apparently so.
Apparently so.
My sweetie's going to read 6 and 7.
Because the people of Israel walked 40 years in the desert until the whole nation, that is, the fighting men who had left, in the page, Egypt had died out, because they had not heeded what Adonai said. Adonai had swore that he would not allow them to see the land which Adonai swore to their ancestors, that he would give us a land flowing with milk and honey. I'm going to read 6 and 7. So he raised up their children to take their place, and it was these whom Joshua circumcised. Until then they had been uncircumcised, because they had not been circumcised while traveling.
Remember, the ones circumcised were sent to the promised land, the spies, and they came back, and then they all whined about it, so he sent them away for 40 years.
Yep.
Because the fighting men didn't listen or believe Adonai. They were the ones who wouldn't even see the land flowing with milk and honey. Their children hadn't been circumcised while traveling. We just found that out. Now my sweetie's going to read verse 8.
When all the nation had been circumcised, every one of them, they stayed where they were in camp until they had healed. Probably very important.
The whole nation of men were circumcised and didn't do any fighting or traveling until they were healed. We can understand why. All those people who were raised, you might say, in the Egyptian brainwashing were now dead.
Mm-hmm.
Adonai states something that had to be stated. My sweetie's going to read verse 9.
Adonai said to Joshua, "Today I have rolled off from you the stigma of Egypt. This is why the place has been called the Gilgal, or rolling, ever since."
I never knew that.
Huh.
I never knew that's why it's called it Gilgal. It's called Gilgal, which means rolling. That's very interesting. One little tidbit reading lightened up something that I never knew before. My sweetie's going to read Leviticus 23, verse 5.
In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, between sundown and complete darkness, comes Peshat for Adonai.
In other words, Passover. Now, why did I have her read that? Because now she's going to read 5, verse 10 in Yahshua.
The people of Israel camped at Gilgal, and they observed Peshat on the 14th day of the month, there in the plains of Jericho. It's like they were told.
It was the 14th day of the first month, and the Hebrews were to observe Peshat, in other words, Passover, when they went to Gilgal.
Yeah, and that, it's very interesting.
Now my sweetie's going to read 11.
The day after Pesach, they ate what the land produced, matzah and roasted ears of grain that day.
The day after Pesach, they ate matzah. That's unleavened bread. And the ears of grain they roasted. What were you going to say?
And I said, and it's the best. No, nothing beats a pita bread in Israel.
Then something happened. Adonai was turning them loose. What do I mean by that? Well, my sweetie's going to read verse 12.
The following day, after they had eaten food produced in the land, the man ended. From then on, the people of Israel no longer had man. Instead, that year, they ate the produce of the land of Canaan.
Remember I just said that Adonai turned them loose?
Mm-hmm.
The Hebrews no longer needed to eat the man. And when you read your English version, they've always called it manna. They ate what the Canaanites had produced.
Mm-hmm.
By coming across the Jordan during the harvest time, they had plenty of food. So Adonai stopped his daily supply of food. They didn't need the man no more.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is interesting. When I first read this, and I studied about this place, it was eye-opening. My sweetie's going to read 13.
One day, when Joshua was there by Jericho, he raised his eyes and looked, and in front of him stood a man with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went over to him and asked, "Are you on our side or on the side of our enemies?"
When they were near Jericho, Now Jericho, think about this, people, was somewhere the size of 1 or 2 football fields. You hear all the time, Jericho. I always thought it was a big spot, a big place. Had a wall around it and fortified. And through my studies, I found out it was maybe 1 or 2 football fields long or big. In total amount of area. Fortified with a good-sized wall, a man with a drawn sword was standing in front of Jehoshua. Jehoshua asked, as my sweeties read, "Are you for us or against us?" I would surmise Jehoshua was going to confront this stranger until, read 14, please.
"No," he replied, "but I am the commander of Adonai's army. I have come just now." Joshua just fell down with his face to the ground and worshipped him, then asked, "What does my Lord have to say to his servant?"
You have to admit something. In all reality, Jehoshua never expected that answer.
No.
Falling with his face to the ground and asked, "What message does my Lord have for me?" Now my sweetie's going to go back to Shemot, or Exodus 3:5. Read that, please.
He said, "Don't come closer. Take your sandals off your feet, because the place where you are standing is holy ground."
Now this place, a little north of the desert of Sinai, some 230 miles, I believe, away from Mount Horeb, he is stating, read 15, please.
The commander of Adonai's army answered Joshua, "Take your sandals off your feet, because the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so.
Take off, wait a minute. It said, take off your sandals, for the place where you're standing is what? Holy. It was 230 miles or so away from the other place in Mount Horeb. And this speaker, this guy that's talking to Joshua, says the place where you're standing is holy ground. Now I have to say something. That verse, that one verse, says a lot. If you ever stand on any holy ground, Adonai wants your feet to be bare. Remember, Moses was standing on holy ground in Mount Horeb. And now Yehoshua was standing on holy ground by Jericho, 230 miles apart. So if you're on holy ground, Adonai wants your feet bare. If it's on a mountaintop next to a city, Jericho, or in a sanctuary where Adonai is, take off the separation from the soles of your feet in Adonai's holy ground. That's what he told both of those guys. Remember, Moses and Joshua. We have read some statements like, well, back then taking off one's sandals was a form of respect. Sounds good, doesn't it? Does society no longer feel they need to show respect by doing such a thing as removing one's shoes to show Adonai that same respect? Read 15 again, please.
The commander of Adonai's army answered Joshua, "Take your sandals off your feet, because the place where you are standing is holy."
Remember
And
that?
Joshua did so.
Remember that little statement? How wrong can society be? Yehoshua didn't throw off his sandals when he heard the man at first. Yes, he fell to the ground fell with his face to the ground. But he left his sandals on until he was informed that the ground he was on was holy, and you don't stand on Adonai's holy ground with the soles of your feet covered. If you ever find true holy ground of Adonai, your feet must be uncovered, or there will be a separation between you and Adonai. See, when Yeshua washed the disciples' feet, it was because they were going to be walking on Adonai's holy ground with and for Yeshua. Interesting thought.
Very interesting.
In your place of worship, be it a church, synagogue, or your own holy places or place, and you believe Adonai is there, have you always had your footwear on the soles of your feet? If you do, would a man with a drawn sword tell you that's all right, because the culture today doesn't follow Adonai's rules anymore? How exciting would it be to hear him say, take off that separation between you and Adonai? Today's society would go, that's weird.
Yeah.
It may be weird to you, but it's honor to Adonai. If you find a place where Adonai is, well, where Adonai really is, don't be surprised if you get the feeling that Adonai doesn't want that separation between you and him. The soles of your feet is your connection between you and Adonai's holy ground. That's obvious because he told both Yehoshua and a guy by the name of Moses the same thing.
Wow.
I read a statement this past week that said, respect for God is just as important today as it was then in the days of Jehoshua. That one statement sounds right on, doesn't it? Until I read his next part of the writing. It stated, even though removing our shoes is no longer our culture way of showing that respect, standing with the power of Adonai and removing your footwear isn't just a culture thing, people. It's an honor of and to Adonai. Priests and us have a perfect opportunity to honor Adonai by turning their people into a culture activity instead of being shameful of what Adonai has actually told two prominent people. Why wouldn't we want to be as honored to have Adonai tell us that as those two? Taking one's footwear off in Adonai's special place, his and your sanctuary, isn't a respectful thing. Now, that doesn't even sound right. It is now and will always be an honor thing to and for Adonai himself. That one chapter says a lot, and I think Adonai gave us a little talking about how to emphasize. Now
One verse.
my sweetie put out something about make sure you listen to the second part of this. No, we start each one of these is this is Adonai's Sanctuary of Truth classroom. People, what does that mean to you? Let's put it this way. In high school, when you were in history class, say, and you paid no attention and you even read comic books instead of your history book, when the test came, you would most likely fail the test. Unless there was some history that goes over and over and over, and then you'd answer it the way you did when you first learned it from somebody who may have been totally incorrect. In this classroom, Adonai is our teacher. When he shows us the truth in history and you pay no attention, yes, you even read books that have been translated, even transliterating his history book to fit their society. Now, in case you didn't understand transliterating or transliterate, that is taking something when you know in a language they have no word for it. Brother George always uses me. If they have no word for tree, they make up a word that would have meant tree, and it doesn't have to be a tree. So they transliterating by putting their word into it instead of what the word really is. In other words, they changed Adonai's history book to fit their society. Then when Adonai, our teacher, gives us the test, or his test, 99% will fail. Why? Well, you could say, well, you would most likely have to say, society has read more of a comic book, feel good, altered, even transliterated version of the real truth. While priests pushed that transliterated version by using the brainwashing of the world to get followers. Therefore, to their and people, to your, have many times damnation. In this classroom, we don't teach. We inform anyone who will listen, inform everyone in Adonai's classroom what our teacher shows us. That's why it's called Adonai's Sanctuary of Truth Classroom. Adonai is a great teacher with a classroom as big as the sky. Yet attendance is small at times. At times they desire may be strong. Faith is swayed by the world's brainwashing, so accepting of his teaching is really what you would call minimal. When you watch his classroom and get the taste of truth and get the knowledge of what Adonai is teaching you, then go back to listening, believing, following your priest and his total brainwashing then you are as bad off as you were before Adonai's true instructions for you. His classroom isn't just to hear us talk about Adonai. It's to learn and use Adonai's truth. People, you have already had the comic book versions that does you no good during Adonai's test. It does you no good during your test. Without passing the test, it does no good to get to some superhero's gate, a political gate, a denominational church or religious gate. Neither does JESUS. They have no gate. Like the superheroes, church, or religion, you will never make it to Adonai's door with any of those. Why? They pushed the feel-good version, not truth. The truth is simple, but only as strong as your faith in Adonai. When you sit in Adonai's classroom, desiring his truth, then walk out the door using the world's truth, you do not have Adonai's truth. You may have desire. You may have a want. But there's so many who can't divorce yourself from your society and the society of your past to give up that comic book style of brainwashing. Our books are great because they try to start to open your eyes for and towards Adonai. You can't go by us. No one must go. No, you must go by Adonai. In reality, how many of you even knew who Adonai was before his classroom? Has he opened your eyes to himself? Are you still hiding from the truth? In society, truth comes up so seldom, unless it's what you like or already are brainwashed to believe. Then you love your life, your faith, your religional brainwashing has you right where they want you, heart, soul, and money. If and when you sit in this classroom and you walk away to follow your society, people, you walk away with nothing but hearing what Adonai's truth is, but you don't absorb it. See, your study has been altered by your own desire, not Adonai's. When you take Adonai out of your learning, you are not following Adonai or even paying attention to your teacher. Stop looking for, finding, and believing that comic book version. Study for truth in Adonai's classroom. Take his truth with you, because if you don't, you will never pass Adonai's test. That's a lot. I bet you people are going, I wish that old guy would just shut up. Well, I'm telling you right now, when we were on the road last week, or a couple weeks ago, I asked my sweetie, I said, what are we really doing? And she sat over there for at least 5 minutes, maybe 10. She said, we're representing or sharing Adonai's truth to a lost world. People, if you don't walk away with Adonai's truth, you have nothing. If you have a sanctuary where you know Adonai is, I'm not saying a made up one, but you really know that Adonai's there and telling you truth. Matter of fact, when you're watching this, if you think Adonai is telling you the truth in this his classroom, take off your shoes. Think about that. His truth makes it worthwhile. You have a good week. Next week we'll be home.
Next week we'll be home.
And won't look like a bum.
You don't think a bum.
She says I don't. You people have a great week. Hope you take to heart what was said towards the end. Because this is a message from Adonai. And that's why we call it Adonai Sanctuary Truth Classroom. It's not from us. I could never come up with all this stuff. But he did. He wants the truth to be brought up. I hope you have a great week.
See you next